Well, hello everyone. It is officially 5 o'clock. What's that saying? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Thank you so much for joining us today for our virtual business week, Business After Hours. And as I had mentioned just the other day, that I thought it would be fun to change up our virtual business week and start something at 5 o'clock. When I was running the Chamber of Commerce as an executive director, one of the fun things that I did was host business after hours and happy hours, and thought, gosh, let's change this up and have a little fun and do something after hours, 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock it is. Thanks for joining us. It looks like we still have some individuals that will be joining us, and I hope you grabbed your favorite cocktail. I know I've got mine, and it's just a crisp white, dry white wine. So I hope you have your favorite beverage with you. And we're really going to, cheers. Cheers, everyone. We're here just to have a good time and do a little bit of networking. And then also learn from Angie Thompson with Living in America. She is a communication coach and also a culture expert on different cultures. So she also teaches ESL, which is pretty amazing, and has lived internationally. So she is going to be sharing with us how to nail your 60-second commercial in 60 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the wand over to Angie. And I know she's got a great program here and really just wants this to be interactive and just fun. So take it away, Angie.
Thank you, Carol. As always, thanks for bringing us all together. I'm really excited to be here. I'm also going to apologize ahead of time. I have a dog, so if there is a squirrel, there will be a bark. So apologize, but thanks guys for coming. And like Carol said, I want this to be really interactive. So I have a few points that we can share, but wanted to do the main points of having a really good commercial. And the reason Carol and I talked about doing this is because there's so much Zooming going on. And even when we get back to normal, it's never going to be all the way normal again. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing the online. And it is different. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it is, because our commercials hold a little bit more weight. We don't have that time before the meeting to do some small talk, or after the meeting to explain a little bit more. That piece is missing. So if we really want someone to talk to us, we've got to grab their attention more quickly than we ever did before. And another thing I thought about was, before the meetings, we have other people to talk about us to other people, or, oh, you should really meet so-and-so. You should really talk to them. All of that we're missing. So really important that we really get this really great commercial and elevator pitch. And there's a few things. Oh, the host disabled screen sharing. Can we screen share? But until then too, another thing that people ask me a lot, because it's called different, right? We talk about commercial, we talk about elevator pitch, we talk about all these different things. And I think that that's a really valid point. There's different times that we use different things. Your elevator pitch is what I consider more that full 60 seconds that you would use introducing yourself at a chamber meeting, or one of the beautiful faces. We usually get a minute to 2 minutes to talk about more about what we do. So you do get a little bit more time for your elevator pitch. And that's what we're going to focus on. But I am going to pick on a few people, most likely Neil, later, to also talk about the difference with a commercial or a weekly presentation. So if you're going to the same meeting with the same people and you really want to clutch one or two questions, that's the type of thing you can change up. So, well, now I can share. Okay. All right, so let's start with this lovely little thing here. Carol already introduced me, so we can skip this part. All right, so there are 3 things that we're going to include, obviously. Sorry, it's a little slow. Your name and your USP. That's your unique selling point. And you'll see here I have my little purple cow, because there's actually a book called What's Your Purple Cow? And this unique selling point is not why you do anything better than somebody else, but why you're doing it differently. What about you is going to make you the right person for the right client. You absolutely have to include this. And the last thing you're going to do is your call to action. So sometimes your call to action is going to be very simple. Call me or email me, or go to my website to learn more. It might also be like my Facebook page. Different times we're going to want different things, but always ask somebody to do something. So this is another thing, and I will also share with you a kind of a document that Carol will send out that's a template for making your own elevator pitch. It's essentially this. I just made it more pink and purpley and girly because I like girly things. But these are the things we're going to talk about. We're going to include who are you, what do you do, what makes you unique, and that was on the last slide, but also who do you help? Whom do you help, and how does what you're doing affect people? Because that's going to draw the right crowd, right? So I'm going to stop sharing for a second so we can just talk about a few of these before we go into some tips. But one person that I thought was a great example was a Juice Plus person that I just talked to. And I won't call her out on this, but she was doing we're 41 medical journals, and that's great. But we all know that. We're all networkers, and we know what Juice Plus does, and we've all heard the 41 medical journals and other things before. But why should I get it from you? If I need Juice Plus, I know people that do it. Why do I want it from you? So I asked her, I said, well, why do you do it? Like, what made you do Juice Plus? And she said, really easy, because I'm the worst mother in the world, and my kids would not eat vegetables. I'm pretty sure they were all going to die. And then somebody said, hey, guess what? You can give them these gummies and they won't die. I was like, oh, yay, I'm the best mom. And so, well, why isn't that your commercial? Why isn't your commercial? You don't even have to say Juice Plus. You can say, hi, my name is so-and-so. Do your kids eat enough vegetables? Because mine never did. And I found a safe and healthy, easy way to substitute their vegetables. If you're interested, please call me. That's going to target the market. And she said, oh my gosh, no way, because I'm excluding so many people. People don't have kids. I said, that's not the point. The point is you're going to draw a certain niche market that if you're trying to catch everything, you catch nothing, right? I see Shannon on there. She's going to know this more than anything. You have to have a niche market, and no matter what you do. Even if you can help everybody, don't go after everybody. Pick something that makes you unique. That's your purple cow. That's your unique selling point, and that has to be in your commercial. That's what's going to make people remember you. So it's really, really important to have that. And I'm going to pick on some more people, and Carol and I are just going to kind of talk here in a minute, but I just want to share a few more like tips for your commercial versus what goes in it, because the easiest way to decide what goes in it is talking about it. It doesn't want to move. Come on, move. There we go. So these are some things that you are really, really key to having a good commercial. The first thing is be short. Everybody tries to shove their entire life into this 60 seconds. It is not going to happen, and I do not care. Everybody has the attention span of a goldfish, especially now. So the more you talk, the less I listen. So you really, really have to be short. That is really key. It's not about telling me everything you do. It's not about telling me everything you've done, why you're qualified. It's about telling me enough that I will be interested in what you have, and I will reach out to you. And I, of course, stole this from Carol because this is so important. It's one of the reasons I joined Beautiful Faces, and then I tell everybody in the universe about it. Ditch the pitch. We do not want to be sold to. People, as a human, we want to feel smart. We want to feel like we chose this. We want to feel like we were in control of what we were doing. So do not sell. Try to focus on educating or solving a problem. What problem do you solve? I'm going to pick on Neil really quickly. It's really easy. Neil also does Pampered Chef. So I don't know if everybody knows that, but he does Pampered Chef. And I said, you know what would be great for you, Neil, is to do a little talk about how you made something, a certain recipe, and you had the cool little gadget that made it so easy to make, right? And oh gosh, I don't have the gadget. I can't make this super cool pie that Neil just made. So sometimes it's not about, and that would be an educational thing. Here's how to make this, here's how to do it, and look what I used. Oh gosh, you don't have that? We're all gonna go buy one now, whatever little widget he has. So that's something to keep in your mind too. What problem do I solve? What do I have? The Juice Plus lady, kids not eating vegetables. No kid eats vegetables. She solves everybody's problems, right? What problem do you solve? Include it in your commercial, but don't pitch to people. Another thing that I think works really well, asking questions. Merely because, and this comes more from my English as a second language, but it's intonation. People listen to questions. I can talk to my boyfriend for a half hour and he'll just be like, yep, sure, babe, yep, yep. And then I'll say, so are we going? I'm sorry, did you say something? So this happens. This is everybody, right? When you ask a question, it draws attention because I'm like, ooh, is there a call to action? Do I have to do something? So questions are really good to pull into your commercials. Also, it's really stressful to like get it all in there, and we're trying to keep it short and we're trying to do all these things, my name, my USP, my problem I solve. But if you can't do it short enough and you don't have time to take your time, you're doing something wrong. Make sure that whatever commercial you put together, you can take your time. Because if you're rushing through it, nobody's going to listen. Because I don't have time. My brain doesn't work that fast. I need you to be slow enough. And I'm not saying super slow, but you have to be slow enough that I can comprehend what you're saying to me. A lot of people also fail at this, just rush through. And I think, I don't even know what he said. She said something about a candle, maybe, I'm not sure. She said something about pills. What kind of pills? I don't know. We'll skip her. So make sure you're taking your time. You'll also notice my very first slide said USP. Most people don't know what that is, right? So don't use jargon in your commercials unless you plan, you can use it if you plan to tell me what it is, but be very careful with that because we get very comfortable. Everybody knows what they do. Everybody's an expert at what they do. And we forget that people don't know these words and these acronyms that we do. So make sure you cut those out, right? And often I think it's really helpful to run your commercial by other people and ask them for criticism. Ask them, did you know what that was? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Especially if it's somebody you don't know. It's a great opportunity to say, do you know what I sell? Or do you know what I offer? And by the way, I say that because I'm my own worst customer. I have terrible commercials sometimes. I really do, because I'm so clear. It's so clear to me, right? It's all clear in my head. But it helps to have people say, I'm not sure what USP is, because that's something someone brought up to me. And I thought, wow, I can't even believe I said that. Did I really say that? So be very mindful of the words that you're using. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about before we talk about everybody else is bridging something old to new. So when you're trying to put together a commercial, especially if you have a unique product that's new on the market, there was someone I met recently and he has some type of magic water stuff, for lack of better explanation. It's very new. So in order to kind of build the credibility, I said, well, you need to work on something I already know and compare it so that I can make a connection to what you're selling. Otherwise, it is exactly that. Magic water or a magic stick or whatever. It doesn't mean anything to me. So if you have especially if you have a newer product or something that's hard to, I almost want to say feels too good to be true. If you have one of those type of products, this part is really important, to find something you already know and generally everybody knows and try to relate it to that. So those are some things that can kind of help you build your commercial, some tips, but obviously everybody's commercial is going to be different based on what they're doing, based on your unique selling point, and also based on your audience. So that's where I'm going to stop talking, because otherwise I'll talk the whole time. I love to talk. And just let you guys ask if you have any questions or if anybody wants to have a try at a commercial. How do you guys want to do this?
Well, I just loved the purple cow and really incorporating your USP, unique selling position. And yeah, I love the purple cow idea. And I haven't really thought about that in incorporating my 60-second commercial, but yeah, what makes you stand out, unique and different, and why you? Yeah.
Yeah, especially for people where there's a very competitive market. So people like financial advisors, insurance, it's very competitive. There's
Mhm.
and sometimes even within the same company. So I really need to know why I should call you. And that's where the niche market comes into place. Also, and I love this Juice Plus lady, going back to her, because I'm never going to forget what she does. Just because she focused on kids, one, I'm going to think of her every time I'm in a conversation and some grandma or mom complains about her kids not eating vegetables. But two, she's going to be fresh in my mind over the other 8 or 9 Juice Plus ladies I know. I mean, sometimes you choose it because it's the right personality or the right person, and there's different things, but you're not at all excluding that market. You're helping people remember you versus just another insurance person or just another financial advisor. So in a very competitive market.
I have a question, Angie.
Yeah.
What about telling a story? Like, after working with me, my clients say that they now have the confidence to blah, blah, blah.
So I know that's, there is a networking group that I'm in that they swear up and down by a story. I think it really depends on your situation. So a story may be, but let me say that I personally am going to say 50% of the time, no, because there's not enough time. How many stories can you tell in 60 seconds? I can't tell a lot of stories in 60 seconds.
So if you had 3 minutes, it's a better possibility?
Absolutely. If I had 3 minutes and I had time, then I would definitely tell a story. But the story to me is what I tell when I get to meet you. The story to me is what I tell when I've already drawn your attention. But I'm sure some of you have been on Zoom calls where there's 30, 40 people. There's a lot of people. Well, I don't know about you, but I definitely do not remember 30 people. But there are a few people that will jump out at me because, and mostly because they're short. Mostly because they asked me one short question. And half the time I call them just because I don't know what they did. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I like what he asked me. Do I want to lose weight? Yes, I do, please. Thank you. So I don't really know what he's doing, but it was a short question that solved a pain problem, and it made me want to call him. And then he can tell me the story. So, but it's a great question, because if you're in a situation you have 3 minutes, then I would tell a story. But for me, these 30-second, we say 60, but sometimes they're down to 30. You certainly can't tell a story in 30 seconds. I mean, you just barely get your name out.
And I talk really slow.
It's hard to take your time, say your name, and tell a story in 60 seconds. Not possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Angie, will you give us an example of like a bad one and then like a good one?
Okay, so I think that's a great question. So, and I hope this isn't like nobody on here does this. So I haven't heard all your commercials, and I'm certainly not picking on someone if I say this, but I've heard a lot of people say, hi, my name is so-and-so, my company is, I help small businesses save time and free up their time to help others and take your stress away. What the hell? So does everybody. That's what everybody does. I mean, are you a bookkeeper? Are you didn't tell me anything. You didn't tell me anything about you. You didn't tell me anything about what you did. And you just put yourself in a pile of 100 other people that I met in one day. So I think that's a really bad one because it doesn't tell me anything at all. I heard another really good one the other day. Gosh, what was that, guys? I can't think of his name, but he said to me, how much is your time worth? So now that you have a dollar amount, how much time do you spend on putting your books together? I think I can save you more than $150 a month and give you 2 hours to do what you want to do. And just the question made me think, how much is my time worth? Yeah, you're right. It would be cheaper to pay you than me. It takes me 4 hours to do it. It takes you 2. So first of all, the question drew my attention. And how many bookkeepers and stuff have I heard? A whole bunch, but none of them really stuck in my head. But first was a question, and then he took the time, the pause, which is another thing that stops us, right? Because like, oh my God, is my internet broken? You take a minute, you're paying attention. And then I thought, oh yeah, how much is my time worth? So I immediately was paying attention to what he was going to say. And then, then he said, let me do your books and I can save you $150 or a month or more, whatever he said. So I thought that was a good one because he hit a pain point. He put in a value in my time and he used the question. And he did the whole thing in less than 60 seconds. Honestly, I think it was less than 30. It was super quick. We're also working on some for Neil because he does a lot of different things. And when I first met Neil, I didn't really know what he did because he said he was doing things for the home. And in my mind, I thought, all kinds of things happen in my house. Maybe not as much as other people's, but I don't know what exactly that was. Well, when I got to meet him, I knew why he said that, because he does so many different things for your house. He works with Scentsy, so he makes it nicer by having a nice smell and aroma throughout your whole house. He works with Pampered Chef, which helps your house because you can get new gadgets for your new cooking hobby since we've all been sitting at home cooking all the time. And he also does like saving money on your utilities and stuff, which gives you money to spend on your but it's a lot to put into 60 seconds. And so we were thinking about, instead of saying for the home, just asking that question, like how much time have you been spending at home, especially since we've all been home, right? How much time have you been spending at home? Do you have a new hobby? If you're into cooking, I may have some new fun gadgets for you. Something like that that's drawing to an attention, that's maybe hitting somebody's phone. And for Neil too, we talked about, because he does so many different things, maybe do 3 different commercials. You have one day your Pampered Chef, maybe even 1 month your Pampered Chef, the next month your Scentsy or trade-off. But at least people know what you're doing versus having this big umbrella and people aren't sure what all that means, because a lot of value there. I mean, 3 different things in one place. That's one phone call, 3 things solved.
And I agree. I think that a lot of us do, more than, there's a lot of people that do one thing and then they also do something else. So I feel like that's common, but it's hard to talk about those different things in one networking. So I like that idea of saying, poor Neil, just picking on you today. Hi, I'm Neil. But what great advertising! Like, did you totally pay us?
No, he really didn't.
But I do a lot of great things for your home. But today I want to talk about how I can work with you through Pampered Chef. Because I think when people try to do too much in one networking, like the other people get irritated. You're like, dude, I got to get my stuff in.
Exactly. And people don't listen. Yeah. And like I said, the commercials are really, when they're down to 60 seconds, they're really about trying to make someone talk to you. Make yourself interesting enough and relatable enough for someone to talk to you. And guess what? No matter how cool you are, not everybody's ever going to want to talk to you. We are not the right people for everybody always. And that's really hard for me to let go, because I just want everybody to like me and play with me all the time. But the fact is, I'm not for everybody. And you just have to say, look, if you didn't want to call me because that commercial, maybe I'm not a good fit. Or maybe you don't need what I need. I don't want to sell something to you. If you don't need me, then that's cool. Somebody will. And maybe even more so, maybe someday you'll find somebody who does. And you will remember that person that asked that question about that, of maybe the kids eating vegetables or something like that. You'll say, oh yeah, I do remember that lady. I know somebody. So I think that's something we all need to remember, is the shorter it is, the more people listen to us. Because you're right, everybody's like, come on, it's my turn. I got to get my stuff done.
Angie, I like that idea. If you do multiple MLMs or streams of income to talk about one for a month. Because first of all, you get a lot of rehearsal time for that one pitch, right? Because you're saying that, you know, we're all anxious the first time we change up our talk, even if it's 30 seconds, you get in your head. So having more opportunities to say it, I think that's good. And I'm just going to share a personal bias of mine as somebody that in 1 to 3 minutes tells me about all 4 of their different companies. My personal bias is, so you can't make it in one, you need 4 different companies to pay the bills, you're not successful. I know that's ugly, but I'm just being frank. That's where my head
but
goes.
you're right.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think people feel like you're not focused. And obviously that's not the case. Everybody's got side hustles these days. Everybody's got things that they do. But no matter how many people we know have a side hustle, it doesn't change sometimes our opinion of, well, who are you today? You know, who are you going to be today? And it is important to brand yourself. No matter what you're doing, it's important to brand yourself. But you can still do that by picking. There's another person I know who does something really well. And she calls herself, she's branded herself as the blonde marketer. So she does work, she sells marketing for one of the stations here in town, but she also does 31 bags and purses and stuff. And she also does Mary Kay. I mean, she's a walking MLM. She does it all. I'm just waiting for her to do Juice Plus. But what's cool about it is I don't think of her as she doesn't know what she's doing. I think of her the total opposite, because she's the blonde marketer. And then and she did enough to catch me, and now I know what she does, and I think of her for all the things that she does. But like you said, Deborah, I don't think of her as lacking focus. I think of her as somebody who really did a good job of branding herself. So there are ways to do it. You can choose one personality that, like the blonde marketer, or you can rotate it by months. You can rotate it by meetings. There are people that I know, ACN is another popular thing people do. There's a lot of people that are like, okay, if I go to BNI, I'm going to be ACN. If I go to Beautiful Faces, I'm going to be a realtor, or whatever they're doing. So there are different ways to do it. Even between like LinkedIn and Facebook, some people go one route on LinkedIn and then they go a different route on Facebook. There's different ways to do it, but whichever way you do it, you want to make sure that, like you said, people don't look at you and think, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then you also don't want people to forget you. You need to market and brand yourself while you're doing it.
Well, I love that thought that you had about, you know, like an umbrella name or statement. Like, what is your purpose in all of your different companies? Why are you doing that? How does it serve somebody? And then that's the name of your company. I love that. And then you provide different services or products within that umbrella. I love that.
Yeah.
I know, so do I. I wouldn't mind sharing when I had coffee with Neil. I think it was back in February before all this craziness happened.
Yeah.
And Neil shared with me his vision, and as Deborah pointed out, it's an umbrella. And Neil shared with me that he's creating an umbrella, PKD Enterprises, and under that he would represent different product lines and solve different problems under PKD Enterprise. And I just thought that is brilliant. It's very similar to Angie's friend, the blonde marketer. And you think of her as the blonde marketer, not as a Mary Kay or 31, or do you know what I mean? And
right.
I mean, she sounds like she's a marketing genius.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, I like that for Neil too. And then he can also, his tagline can still be the same. Like I still kind of like making your home homier. I know it's a little cheeky, but I like it because it goes with everything he's doing, you know, the fragrances and the saving money and just making it a more pleasant place to be, and then building your hobbies so you can tie it all together.
I think that's why I had the focus of the home. It's not, okay, I'm going to sell this. This is completely different than the home. Everything is focused on the home. So yeah, like you said, there's an umbrella, and then it's not, well, I want to sell 4 things because I just want to sell 4 things. It's because they all focus on the home and they can tie in with each other. And then I did do branding myself with the fragrance guy, because you can do the fragrance and then tie that in with the kitchen and then the home savings. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Neil's I'm a good example of myself too, but because he did put a lot of effort into branding himself and putting it under the umbrella, but you can't see from the inside out. So when I asked Neil, I'm like, what do you mean for the home? Because from the outside, I thought, is he a realtor? There are lots of things for me that could be for the home. Is he maybe he collects trades guys, maybe he connects like your plumber, your electrician. There were so many things that went through my mind, but to Neil, he's like, well, obvious, so it's so obvious to us what we do. And I'm in the same boat. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm probably one of the hardest people to understand because I do so many different things. But it's so clear in my mind that I ask for help. I actually run it by my son all the time because he's 20 and I'm not sure he always likes me. So he's terribly honest. And it's very helpful because I'm like, hey, I was going to say this. Does that make any sense? And he's like, no. But we all need that lens from the outside, no matter how good we are. Almost more how good we are. The more of an expert we are, the more we need that lens from the outside to see it how everybody else sees it, especially our target market.
I've recorded myself like on my cell phone, just like those quick 30 seconds. And then like I'll send the video to like a couple friends who I know like won't BS me, who are like brutally honest. And I'll be like, okay, which one is better? Like, do any of these sound good? Because you just get so stuck in your head that you can't see yourself objectively. So to have somebody else's opinion who will be honest and won't just, shoot flowers at you, makes a big difference.
Yeah, it really does. That's a lot of what I've been doing lately too. I know I had a lady, she works for a talent service, and she's like, oh, this is awesome. I don't know what to do without you. You're my business therapist. And I thought, that's kind of cool because that's what everybody needs. It's just a little business therapist to go through and say exactly what you did, Shannon, like, which one's better? This one, like impartial. I don't have anything to lose or gain here. This is what I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious if anyone else on here has their 60-second commercial they want to run by Angie.
Hot seat coaching.
Yeah, let's do a little hot seat coaching here.
And no pressure. Like I said, my own is terrible.
Yeah, no pressure.
It's
She will
outside.
not make you cry.
It's a second opinion.
Oh, good grief. I'll do it.
Okay, Marianne.
I'm trying to be a little quieter today, but y'all aren't helping this. So my name is Marianne Bailey, and I am the owner of OnlineTechLessons.com, where I help improve the lives of senior citizens by helping them, by helping them learn how to use technology more effectively.
I think it's great because we know what you do. We know who your target market is, senior citizens. One thing that I might add is just, and you're kind of unique because your target market already tells me a little bit your unique selling point is senior citizens. But if I added anything, I might say a question at the end, something to make it relatable to me or my family. Like, have you tried to FaceTime your grandma lately? Did she have trouble? Something that really hits my market, or whoever, your mother, whatever. I think that would just add to what you already have.
I thought a lot of people, every time people hear what I do, they say, oh, you must have the patience of a saint. And so, so I've thought about like adding, like how often do you lose patience trying to teach, your grandparents or.
That would be awesome. That's exactly the type of thing that I would add in there because that makes it relatable. It makes me think, oh yes, that's me. I need to call her. Whereas before, without the question, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I move along.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but you know what I mean? Just over exaggerating to show the point of why I think that question, and also again, just one question makes me pay attention because I did I miss something, right? So that just the intonation, the simple intonation of a question helps, but it also makes it more relatable.
I think sometimes if we listen to what people ask us in these conversations, that those also will give us the questions that we need to be asking. Because like a lot of times people will ask me, oh, that's interesting. How'd you get into that? You know, and so that tells me like, you know, oh, they're curious about, you know, what led me to that point, or what my skills were, or who I worked for. So sometimes learning, you know, just listening to other people gives you the questions that you should add to it as well.
Oh, that's an awesome, excellent point. If somebody asks you a question, that means you didn't tell them that in your commercial. Whether you thought you did or you didn't, if somebody asked you, they didn't understand and they didn't know. So that's an excellent point. And it's also, like you said, just to help people know what questions do your clients ask. I also tell people a little bit off topic, but it's also, since she brought it up, that's a great way to choose the articles that you write or the post that you make. What questions do people ask you? Because when you're trying to provide education and value, that's the best way to do it. If they're trying to do something, what questions do they ask you? And answer them. And don't ever be afraid to give your best stuff away for free. Because most of the time, once you do, people are like, that's awesome. I don't have time, or I'm too lazy, or I still don't want to do it. But what it did was prove to them that you know what you're doing. And so they now trust you to do whatever they need done for them. I have too many people who are like, well, I don't want to tell them everything. Well, you really should. Because if they try to do it by themselves, then if it works, they didn't need you, and you weren't going to give them value, and they would have been a bad customer. And most of them are not going to do it well themselves. Most of them are really good at what they do and not what you do. And they're going to come back to you one way or another.
That was fantastic, Marianne. All right. Does anyone else want to have a shot at your 60-second commercial with Angie?
I would do it.
All right.
I'm freaking out, by the way.
I was surprised you were going to be quiet. I'm like, I can't. Blanca's microphone's broke.
We don't bite. We really don't.
Well, I am changing it right now because I usually say something like, this is Blanca Kreiner. I am with Abbey Credit Union, where we refinance your loans for less, and we will find you the best loan for your company. And give me a call if you would like to know more. That's what I usually say. But listening to Angie, what I was thinking, and I would like to ask you, Angie, what do you think about this? Is, do you have a car payment right now? I will give you cash back if you bring it to Abbey Credit Union. Do you know an entrepreneur who is paying a loan? We will refinance it for less. And also, do you know someone with 2 or more employees? I would like to share my employee discounts with their employees. Give me a call.
Okay, I have my thoughts. Anybody else want to say something? Because I love it. I think the second one is so much better. Because the first one is, it tells me what you do, but it's very much everybody else does loans. Everybody else does this. The second one automatically made me relate. Do I know entrepreneurs? Yes. Do I know somebody with a car payment? Pretty much everybody in my entire life. So it already made it much more relatable and already differentiated you from other loans or bank commercials that I heard.
Yay, I passed the test from the teacher.
I liked the question too. I thought that was good.
Yeah. I mean, I love the question too. Do you have a car loan? Well, you immediately go, yeah. That, you know, you'll catch their attention. I thought that was brilliant.
Thanks, Blanca, because you totally showed my point there. You just showcased how questions work so much better, because they really do. They are relatable. They make you think. They catch your attention. So, and if anything, Blanca, which I thought was awesome, but I know you do a ton of networking. I might split those questions up. Mm-hmm. So you could even do 3 out of that. You know, the car, the entrepreneur, and another good thing about having an arsenal, because I have an arsenal of commercials that I use, and it often depends on what the group is like. Sometimes I don't know until I get in there. I'm like, oh, look, I see a whole lot of health and wellness people in here. I might just do this. Or, you know, some groups are more business oriented. Some groups are more professional development oriented. So I might choose my commercial based on the audience I have too.
Okay.
Just turned one commercial into 3.
What do you think about, for example, the discounts that we share with those companies? What do you think about, do you think that's too long when I say I would like to share my employee discounts with your employees?
No, I don't think so at all, especially if you did it as a separate question commercial by itself. In fact, you could add 2 questions in it. My first thought was that would also help with employee retention, which is a really rough spot right now for everybody. It's kind of a sensitive spot to talk about. So I might even say something, are you worried about employee retention? Do you have employee benefits? I have discounts I would like to share to help you with your employee retention.
Oh, great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
Kathleen, are you going to ask something?
Well, I just was going to share if we have time for someone else.
Carol, okay.
Oh yeah, let's do another one. Absolutely, we've got time as long as everybody's got their favorite beverage. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first thing I was going to share was I had the opportunity last September with I'm a transformational health coach with myself and about 30 other coaches to go to a business summit in Tennessee that was led by this speaker, author, professional business coach named Michael Burt. And we talked about this very thing. And what you just said, Angie, about I've strayed a little bit from his thought process, which is what I want to share with you guys to see if it helps at all based on the audience that I'm with. And I've found myself kind of muddying my 60-second pitch and it gets all like weird and confusing. But here's what his suggestion was, like particularly in the days where we used to be on airplanes, and if somebody sat next to you and spoke to you and they said, oh, what do you do? Instead of saying, I'm a health coach, which is kind of a vanilla term these days, and people don't really know exactly what that means. He said, you should have a belief statement. And he says, tell them what you believe. And so I was just kind of rewriting what I used to say. I talked to Carol about this when she and I first met offline one time. I believe everyone has the ability to transform their lives. I believe this because it happened for me. The way I do this differently is by empowering and equipping my clients with the structure and support they need to create health in the 3 areas that are critical: mind, body, and finances. I mean,
Yeah,
I just thought that was like such a different take on how to share with the belief statement. He said because people align with other people that have the same kind of beliefs as they do.
And to me, I'm glad you mentioned that, because to me, going back to something that's super clear to you and not to everybody else, to me, that's what your unique selling point or perspective is. It's your belief system. It's what makes you different. So that may not always be, I'm different because I don't carry packages, or I'm different because it may be because of your belief system. That unique selling point is why you. It's your why. It's your why. And by the way, anybody who's doing LinkedIn profiles, because it's something else that I do, that is what your about section should be, what Kathleen just said. That is your why. In a couple paragraphs, but you should tell people what you believe, why you came to do what you're doing, why you do it differently, not better. That's another thing. Never say you're better. If you say you're better, I don't believe you. It's salesy and I don't believe you. Never say you're better. Always tell me why you're different. Why you?
That's exactly what he said.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I need to get back to doing this. I need to have it memorized so I don't have to write it down. So I don't stumble over it when I say it.
Well, I love that, Kathleen. One idea is to start off by saying, hey, before I tell you what I do, let me tell you what I believe. I believe that all things are possible, and I think that's an interesting way to set you apart too.
Yeah, and it starts with a positive tone. That's something else I didn't mention that's very common sense to me, but not to everybody. Start out with a positive tone. Don't walk in there like you're bored. Don't walk in there with, oh, this is what I do. You know, I can't tell you how many State Farm people, I'm like, I'm sorry for you guys. Is that how you really feel? Because they look bored with their life. But then I had a lady recently, I tell you what, it was really cool. She didn't say she was from State Farm. I would have never known she was an insurance person. She asked us her question again. She put a question and she said, hi, I'm so-and-so. She did not say State Farm. And she said, I'm in the business of giving you peace of mind. If you're worried about your car, your home, or losing anything important to you, give me a call. It was an excellent commercial to me. Excellent. Because if she'd been a State Farm person, if she said she was State Farm, I might not have called her. I already have insurance and I have 50 other options of people. But that made me want to talk to her. And it also made me feel like she knows what she's doing, right? If she's bringing that many people to talk to her, she knows what she's doing and she likes what she's doing. She didn't say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I work for State Farm and we save you money on your car, home, and house. And please call me or go to my website if you'd like to know more. No, thanks. I'm already depressed. We're in the middle of a pandemic. But if I want to be more depressed, I'll do that. So be happy. That's another good point.
Yeah. That reminds me, I'm going to put LaRonda on the hot seat. Hi, LaRonda. Because LaRonda is a fabulous insurance agent up in Dayton, Ohio, for those of you who might live up there. But LaRonda is also running for state representative. Up in Ohio. So like as we were going through this, I was thinking about her, like how could someone maybe running for office kind of craft their 60-second commercial?
Yeah, I was sitting here a little schizo, like, okay, so should I be thinking about my 60-second work or 60-second campaign? I've done this a million times, and like I think it was Kathleen. I should have this written down and memorized, but I think it just changes with where I am. And so I normally say something like, for a 60-second commercial, I make sure that I put money in your wallet in the event that you have a bad day. And that usually brings a question. And then it's the unforeseen things that happen to you. If you're not properly covered and protected, it can cost you money. And it might just be 1 or 2 sentences on your policy. And so that's how I kind of do it, almost like storytelling, because most people don't want to hear anything about insurance and all of that. So I try to make it real, like a bad day. If it's a business, what's a bad day for you? Oh, you're a journalist and you misspelled something, and you got sued, or you're a caterer and you did something and people got sick. So I just say, in the event that you have a bad day, whether it's personally or it's your business, because we work from home and sometimes people don't tell their agent they work from home. So we just have all these risks and things that can happen. So I try to leave it a little bit broad and see if they ask more questions about it. So, and
what advice do you have for her, Angie?
Whew.
Well, I think too, like with insurance, I think one of the most successful things I've seen of people insurance-wise is education. People that put things out there like, when did you know you should have your car insurance re-quoted every 6 months? Or did you know it doesn't hurt your credit to have this, to shop for this? Did you know things that are probably super common sense to you? There are a lot of insurance ignorant people out there like me. And I know that sometimes the insurance people ask me questions like that I find educational, and I'm much more drawn to them because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And since you're the one that taught me, I'm going to ask you to reshop my car insurance now that I know I can do that. Or things I didn't know I could have insurance for or should have insurance for, especially in business. I'm not, like I said, I'm really bad at insurance, but I have had a few people ask things about insuring your business. I'm like, no, I didn't even know that was a thing, you know? So I feel like insurance, if you can offer, and insurance is something I would shift every time.
Okay.
Because insurance is something we all know what it is. So you don't have to explain to me what insurance is. But if you give me a different tidbit of information, especially with a question, that's really going to perk my interest. So if it's some special business, do you have this? I forgot. Gosh, I just heard of something. I forget it. But it was something weird that I thought, holy crap, I didn't even know you could insure that, you know?
Right.
And then I called her and I said, what is that thing? And do I need it? So it turns out I didn't. But if it was something, I would have gotten it through her because she asked and she offered it. So I think insurance, that's a good thing, is like pick different tidbits, and honestly, little things. Little things, because we all know the big things. We all know we need car insurance. We all know we need that. But interesting little things that I don't think about, those are really good pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most of the times I try to, not in a, not in a 60-second elevator speech, but most people don't know how to get their rates low or how to keep low rates. They'll call, my rates are high, what am I doing? I'm like, well, you had your car towed 3 times last year. Those are towing, those are claims. And most people are like, they just never knew. So every time their car breaks down or they lock the keys in there or whatever, they're using their auto insurance like it's AAA. And I tell them how that impacts your rates. And so
that's a great commercial. You can say, did you know if you have your car towed 3 times, that counts as 3 claims and your insurance would go up?
Yep.
Call me to find out what else makes your rates go up. I'd call you. Like, what the hell else did I do wrong, Loranda? Let me know what else I need to stop.
In our world, it's always something. So right now it's the pandemic. You have attorneys on TV wanting to look at your business interruption coverage because your restaurant's been closed since March, and viruses and pandemics are excluded from coverage. And so it's, well, did your agent tell you specifically it was excluded? So now we're looking for E&O emissions, like they should have told you. So it's just something, no matter what happens in society, it impacts insurance. So if there's a tornado like we just had a year ago and a lot of loss, and your restaurant is closed for 3 months, you get daily paid what you would have made every day in your restaurant. But from this pandemic, no, because that's an exclusion. So we're always explaining, and you have to explain it correctly because that's a lawsuit. I mean, we're talking about people's coverages. So it's just always something. I feel like every day it's a new call. So it's, well, so-and-so is giving rebates and checks back, and am I getting a check back? So I write for about 10 companies. So then I have to realize, okay, so who's giving money back? Who's giving a Amazon gift card back? You know, it's just all of this stuff to keep track of. But in my job, I just try to make it fun. I try to make it educational. I am usually a good storyteller because people can relate to stories when it's life insurance. And I tell people, the ex-wife was still the beneficiary. When he retired, he never changed it.
Yeah.
You got to sit down with me every year. Let's go over this. People are like, oh, shit, you know. So I try to come up with stuff that's relatable. And so.
Yeah, that's great, Loranda.
Yeah.
You've got some great points there. And I love how you and Angie both said that it really is about giving value and education and tips on how to solve XYZ. And I'm looking at all the beautiful faces here on this call tonight. And I know everyone here is passionate about their products, their services, and how they solve problems. And I think that is one of the things that I'm excited about Beautiful Faces Going Places, is that this is a platform to provide those education tutorials, those 20, 30-minute how-tos, because once you're seen as the expert in your industry and you position yourself there and you're just giving, you're being of service, you're delivering a message, you're delivering value, you're not pitching or selling, but you're giving value. And this is how you attract your ideal clients, and that's how you grow your business. And so I'm just so thrilled that Angie, that you and Loranda both shared the storytelling and sharing the tips and values, because that's what it's all about. It really is. Does anyone, you know what, I think what we're going to do is we're going to break out into sharing. I'd like to share with you some networking tips and that you can utilize online and offline. And then, so I'm going to share a video with all of you. And it's so funny, after you watch this video, it's a 5-minute video. So we're going to take 5 minutes, watch this video, and then we're going to open it up for discussion, because several of you talked about meeting people on airlines. So I think you're going to find this very interesting. And so I'm going to share this, then we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to open it up for just plain old Q&A, and Angie can answer more questions, and then you can ask me any questions on networking effectively online and offline, because that's what we're all here for today, for business after hours. Let's see here. Now I just have to find it. Let's see here. Why don't we go here? Okay, just bear with me 1 second while I, here it is, share this screen with you guys. Can you guys see this?
I see your beautiful faces page.
But I don't see a video.
You don't see a video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try minimizing your PowerPoint.
Wait, we don't want to watch that.
I'm Katie Holland.
Oh, there
I
it
work
is.
at Corporate Alliance.
Thanks.
I
We
spent
can't see it, Carol.
over a decade traveling all over
Oh, Carol, I can't see it.
the world.
You
as a
can't see it?
consultant.
No.
Oh,
No. Do you want me to try to do it?
sure.
I think I have it up
Okay.
still. Let's see.
Now I've got to
So
turn
I
it
get to
off
the airport, I'm gonna be
because I can hear it.
and I'm going to get on the flight. And the first thing I find out is I was
Wait,
not-
let's see.
it had
All right,
been
there we go.
years since I had
Hmm.
coach.
Carol, just hit stop share.
And I flounce on
Okay.
the plane. I go into
Okay,
coach.
Hang
and
on
I sit
1
next to
second
some
here.
poor man,
Stop.
and he's a very slender, middle-aged Hispanic man, and he was sort of appalled at me, and he watched me kind of flop down, and I'm just sort of slamming things around, and he wanted to visit, and I did not want to visit, and there's
I can
nothing
still hear
worse
yours,
than
Carol.
annoying seatmates when you're on an airplane, because you're captive, you can't leave. So we get up to cruising altitude, and I open my computer and I get all my data and all my slides about our training
Okay.
on the screen.
Shannon, you still can't see it, right?
No.
Yes,
Carol, mute yourself and then Angie can play it.
Thinking, who
Okay.
are you to be?
Okay. So,
I'm Katie Holland, and I work
can we
at
see
Corporate
that?
Alliance.
Yes.
I
Okay,
spent
good.
about well over a decade traveling all over the country and the world as a consultant. So I get to the airport, it's been a grueling day, and I'm gonna get on the flight. And the first thing I find out is I was not hungry. It had been probably years since I had flown coach. So I'm not happy, and I flounce on the plane. I go into coach, and I'm sitting next to some poor man, and he's a very slender, middle-aged Hispanic man, and he was sort of appalled at me, and he watched me kind of flop down, and I'm sort of slamming things around, and he wanted to visit, and I did not want to visit, and there's nothing worse than annoying seatmates when you're on an airplane, because you're captive, you can't leave. So we get up to cruising altitude, and I open my computer and I get all my data and all my slides about our training on the screens. And this gentleman starts asking me questions about the data. And at first I'm thinking, who are you to be looking over my shoulder? And then something very interesting starts to happen. This gentleman was extremely smart and very astute, and he started asking some very probing, interesting questions, helping me draw some correlations and some parallels in my work that I had never done before. And my mood shifted, the entire conversation shifted into this amazing, intriguing talk about my work and the work we were doing as a firm. It was absolutely fantastic. So the flight ends, and I said, thank you so much. That was an incredibly enjoyable flight. I loved our conversation. You're just amazing. And he kind of smiled, and he shook my hand, and he said, well, thank you. My name is Carlos. I enjoyed it too. And that was the end of that. So it was about 3 weeks later, back here at the firm in Salt Lake City, we get a FedEx. And in the FedEx is an RFP, that's a request for proposal from Kellogg Corporation. The cover letter stated that Kellogg was looking for a provider of diversity training for their global workforce. And they'd already sent out an RFP, they already had 2 finalists. But because their CEO, Carlos Gutierrez, had happened to be on a commercial flight with one of our agents, he was very, very intrigued with the work we were doing. Based on that, they were not only going to let us into the RFP, they were going to bump us into the final category, the finalists. And we got that contract. Shortly after that, Kellogg won Best Company to Work for in America. So I was at the award ceremony, and I'm sitting next to Carlos Gutierrez, the CEO of Kellogg. You know, he's a big deal. And he leans over to me and he says, "Hey, Katie." And I said, "What?" And he said, "You know, that day on the airplane when we first met?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You were kind of a little bitch that day." And I started laughing, and I said, "I know, I'm so sorry." So he said, "You know, I also was unhappy on that flight because I have 2 Learjets at my disposal, and neither of them, one was not available and one was in for repair. And I was stuck on a commercial flight that day. And then in you come and flounce down next to me. And isn't it interesting when we got out of our own ways and started working and collaborating together, what we were able to create? So what happened to me on that airplane is a perfect example of our relationship key, avoid relationship arrogance. You never know who you're sitting next to. You never know who someone knows. And you never know who will benefit. It's extremely interesting what can happen when people get out of it.
How's that going?
That was really great.
I know. Isn't that a neat video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Content.
Now I'm trying to figure out how and where to stop.
On Wednesday afternoon, and there was an indication that with the ALC meeting on Wednesday morning at 9:30.
Always the best option for everybody.
That's Carol.
We love the virtual world. Carol, try minimizing your screen, and then it's probably behind something you can't see, and then you can close it out.